Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
Hello and welcome back to Google Ads Unleashed, guys. Hope everyone is doing fabulously this Monday. And today I'm going to dive into an evergreen episode because I get this asked all the time. How do you grow in Google Ads, right? How do you grow? Because the reality is quite bleak, actually, because I've been in Google Ads extremely long time now, and it is simply a fact of the matter that there is limited search volume. There's not an unlimited number of people looking for your stuff, right? It's a numbers game. Think how many people are in Britain, how many of them every day have a need for something, how many of them hack their need into Google, how many of them end up clicking your ad, how many of them add to cart, how many of them reach the checkout, how many of them buy. It's tiny numbers, right? Tiny numbers. So our job is to maximize that funnel, right? And how you do that, there's only a couple of ways. And today I'm going to give you every angle you can think about in order to make the most of what I've just said. Okay, so let's dive right in. So let's look at the funnel. If you look at the funnel that I have had just now, the only sort of growth opportunities lie in the following. You can either increase your average order value, you can increase the conversion rate, you can increase everything in the top of the funnel that I've just mentioned, like add to cart rate, you can increase your click-through rate, or you can target more search volume. That's the only ways you can do that. So let's start with the most obvious one, average order value. So if you are stuck, let's say you're stuck on a certain return on ad spend and you don't have any impression share loss due to budget, you have only impression share loss due to ad rank, so that means you can only improve what you have on site, or you can lower your bid strategy, right? So increase your CPA targets or lower your target ROAS. Then you're already a little bit sometimes in the pickies. Why? Because you don't want to lower your target ROAS, right? I had a client ask me this just now. Google recommends I lower the target ROAS, but my break-even ROAS is 2.2. So am I meant to lower it below that? Hell no, of course not, right? You have to now start thinking strategically on how you can put more conversion value in for every sort of buck that you're getting out right now. And the obvious one is increase your average order value, okay? So how do you do that? Think, can you bundle somehow? Can you offer options on the site of your product to sell it more expensively, right? Like some option with a free gift. Can you implement some sort of upsell in the cart? Like, for instance, add something like priority shipping. One of my print on demand customers does that. You can say, listen, hey, another €5 on top, and for that you get your delivery made first. Okay, hugely effective, right? It adds €5 to €10 onto every order. Every fourth order, boom, you increase your average order value, you can scale a little bit more and actually spend a little bit more because you're hitting those ROAS targets, right? So Google goes out and finds more auctions, which you can potentially win, given that you get those kinds of returns on ad spends. You can also implement post-purchase upsells, right? Massively underutilized tool and something that I recommend to all of my partners. Next, you can increase your conversion rate. So generally speaking, increasing conversion rate is sort of a very nebulous sort of term, but all it means is try and optimize all of those steps. Try and optimize your checkout, right? Really have a look at your checkout. What's going on? Is my checkout working? Are people going through the shipping page and the other pages as they should? Are they dropping off somewhere? have a look at your cart page. Is your cart page optimized, or is there an obvious drop-off that you can fix in order to, for instance, increase the trust that people have in your brand? This is something that, for instance, I've done in an audit yesterday, right? So one of the things I've seen is add to cart rate 6%, checkout reach rate 3%. That's quite a big drop-off anyway. It should only be about a third, ideally. And then suddenly, from checkout reach rate over 3%, only 0.8% bought. So that means out of 10 people who have something in their basket and reach the checkout and go and check out, only about 2 buy. That's not good enough, right? So very poor, and that is something that you need to fix. Do that and your Google Ads will improve automatically, right? Of course, you can increase conversion rates in any matter, right? Like you can improve your site speed, you can improve your offer, you can run a sale, right? You'll have the best conversion rate of your life if you give everything away for free. If you drop the price to 0, you'll have 100% conversion rate, right? Because everyone's going to buy. But of course, it's a matter of doing that efficiently and doing that well. Do your customer research, do your competition research, do your on-site research, get your site to lightning speed, get your site to understands and sells to your customer, and that is how you can improve your Google Ads, okay? Increase the conversion rate in every step. Then the next thing that you can do is, of course, to start lowering your CPCs from a quality score perspective, right? So that's how you can increase your ROAS as well. Now with keywords, it's pretty straightforward. I've done a full episode on that. You improve your ad relevance, you improve your expected click-through rate by regularly adding negative keywords and by writing great ads. And your ad relevance, your landing page relevance is something that you can fix as well, but building better landing pages, product pages, etc. With shopping, it's a bit more nebulous. Again, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. But if you decrease the click costs, then of course you can grow on Google Ads. That's a very, very easy way. But now we get into the nitty gritty, because again, you can do all these things to a certain limit, but you will reach a limit at some point because there's not any crazy amount of search volume out there. But the goal is that you start tapping into the search volume that is high in impressions, but difficult to crack. What do I mean by that? So go away after this podcast and Google something called Zipf's law. It's a massively interesting concept in linguistics. And basically, Zipf's law describes I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to try my best. It describes the incidence, or like the number of times something happens, of words in any language, in a book, in whatever. For instance, if you were to take the Bible, let's say, the number one word that is said the most in it is the word and, right? The second most written common word in the book is the word the, for instance, and so on and so on. You get all these words. And the funny thing is that the incidence of the words is always half as many as the one previously. So what does that mean? So for instance, the is appears 10,000 times. Then the second most common word would appear 5,000 times. The third most common word would appear 2,500 times. The next one 1,250, etc., etc. It's like it's a curve, right? That sort of flattens out towards 0. And the thing is with Google, and with any sort of search volume there is for anything out there, it's exactly the same. The more longer term a search term is, the more likely the intent of the user is higher, the more likely they are about to convert. And it's the same for every space in Google Ads, okay? What do I mean by that? Let's take an example like beds. Let's say you sell beds, right? Let's say you sell specifically only a common, uncommon type of bed, like some sort of ottomans. Ottomanbeds.co.uk. Goners, right? The number one search term for beds, unsurprisingly, will be beds, which will be sought after hundreds of thousands of times a month probably on Google in the UK. Now, whatever the second most common search term is, I don't know, I don't care really at this stage, but I can absolutely guarantee you that Ottoman bed, red, velvet, queen size will be sought after a lot fewer times than just the word bed, but it has less search volume. So because it has less search volume, it converts a lot better, but you will never be able to scale on it because fewer people are searching for it. So your goal is to find a product and find an offer, if you want to scale, that will convert on the most unspecific of search terms in your niche. Another example, many moons ago, I worked with a company that sold water bottles. Unsurprisingly, water bottles is the number one search term. A water bottle could be meaning anything, right? What we did at the time was the following. Because they couldn't scale, they asked us to see, listen, we know there's search volume on water bottle. This is the biggest search term. How can we rank on there and harness that as much as possible? Well, what we did is we manufactured a structure where for those top search terms, we only showed the absolute best of the best sellers. And for all other kind of long tail search terms, water bottle in grey metal or something, we would show all the other products that were, of course, a perfect match for that type of search term. Well, what did we do there? We sort of used the best selling product that had the best conversion rate to compensate for the lack of interest someone might have when they search for that search term, because it's not specific, right? So the art is to start positioning your product for what has a lot of search volume, but is more abstract in its meaning. This is a very, very difficult concept to wrap your head around, but once you truly understood that, you also understand why labelizing strategies work, right? Let's say, or you might intuitively now understand why you used to segment products by all products versus my best sellers, or why you might be doing something like profit metrics, like a highly profitable, unprofitable versus unprofitable versus no index or something like that, and has no search volume for that exact reason, because you can drop ROAS targets and bid more aggressively on the search volume that has the most search volume, right? The short tail searches, because those products compensate by being good products, right? Whereas the crappy products, you need to position for what has a lot lower search volume, because they need a good specific search intent and conversion rate in order to convert. So that's how you scale on Google as well, okay? You try and lean in and shoehorn your portfolio in such a fashion that you position your best performing products for the highest search volume that is least specific, in order to compensate for the lack of conversion rate from them searches. And then you could engineer this situation further by scaling further vertically, right? By using more campaign types, such as, for instance, expand from shop into search, and try and convert on informational searches, right? That's where you start writing advertorials, for instance. Or you start just finding simply more search volume by expanding your product portfolio. A little example, one of our clients sells an acupressure mat. Of course, there's limited search volume for acupressure mats. So what do? They made an acupressure cushion, right? There's more search volume for that. So we could add another 20% in revenue. Now they've also manufactured a spiky ball, like one of them roller balls through which you can massage yourself. Boom, that's now the second best performing product, because there's more search volume for it, so we can bid on new search volume. And then we deploy the same strategies. How can we increase conversion rate? How can we increase average order value? How can we reduce the bids as much as possible to improve our quality scores? How can we position the product in such a fashion that we effectively position it for the highest search volume product searches, right? And then lastly, the last way how you can grow, next to sort of demand gen and other stuff and starting to venture into push marketing, is to simply go horizontal. Conquer new languages. Try and reverse engineer what do people in other languages want differently from yours. So you're starting to talk about sort of real sort of expansion strategy in e-commerce now, right? How do you understand your foreign audience? What kind of specific needs do they have? How would they respond differently to the product? What other competitors are there in the market? You may have to internationalize differently in order to, do they say things differently? Do they need different payment methods, etc.? You have to research all that stuff, and then you can expand internationally and simply position your products in other languages because there's more people. Simple as that. Okay. Or in the same language if they do speak the same language. Okay. But these are the only ways you can grow on Google, because in summary, you can't make people search for your stuff. So the only way is to get more out of them when they do buy. That's increasing your average order value. Get more people who are already coming to your site anyway to buy more. That's increasing your conversion rate in any way, shape, or form, however you do this. Position yourself more for the short tail searches effectively once you are able to do that, in order to capitalize on the more search volume there is for that product. That's the third way. Lower your CPCs by pandering to Google's algorithm. That's the fourth way. However you do that, there's many ways of skinning that cat. The next thing that you can do is use more campaign types. That's your fifth. Expand to search, expand to advertorials, expand to demand gen, expand to like YouTube demand gen, yeah. The sixth way of growing is by finding new search volume you can target in terms of, for instance, you have to create new products to satisfy existing other search volume which is out there. The seventh way you can grow is by expanding horizontally into new languages, new countries, etc. 7 surefire ways. And if you want to do that with us, simply get in touch. youngerdigital.marketing. You can also send me a LinkedIn message, or Jeremy Young Google Ads, and I'd love to have a chat with you. But up until then, I wish you a happy and productive week ahead, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. To connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. We'll see you next time.